Thanks for joining us today, Junkies. I'm Brandon Dukeman here with Will Harvey, and this is your daily episode of the Wealth Junkies. Before we get started, if you like what you're listening to, if you've been listening to these episodes for a while, do us a favor, tell a friend, start spreading the word about the Wealth Junkies and what we're doing here. It'd really help us out. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Will, and let's get started with the show.
Thanks, Brandon. Today on the show, we have Scott Carson. Scott is the host of the popular Note Closers show. It's a podcast and nationally syndicated radio show. And he's been an active real estate investor and entrepreneur since 2002, focused on the niche of distressed mortgage and note industry since 2008. So he's a highly sought after speaker and podcast guest with hundreds of speaking appearances at conferences, real estate clubs, and networking events across the country. He's also been featured in many media outlets, including Investors Business Daily, The Wall Street Journal, and Inc.com. He spends his free time attending sporting events, concerts, and traveling to new places. And he calls Austin, Texas home. Scott, are you you're not a Cowboys fan, are you?
Unfortunately, yes, I am, but I'm a bigger,
we got to turn this off. We're no longer doing the interview.
Yeah, sorry, guys. Hey, you guys are a little bit. We've got something in common. I imagine you're Redskins fans. Is that correct?
Unfortunately.
Yeah, we both didn't have it. But hey, go Colt McCoy, go Longhorns.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's right. Well, Scott, hey, we really appreciate, even though you're a Cowboys fan, we really appreciate you coming on the show. We're excited to talk. Can you just give the listeners a little bit more about your background and what got you to where you are today?
Yeah, hey, I'm honored to be on here, guys. I love doing podcast episodes and getting the word out. And I love what you guys are doing. So, yeah, listen to Brandon. Go on over and subscribe and leave a 5-star review for what these guys are doing. 7 days a week.
Appreciate the
7 days a week.
Yep. Anytime, man, anytime. But, yeah, so I've been I've been an entrepreneur really all my life, growing up, doing odd jobs, stuff like that. But I got into the rat race out of college like many people, graduated with a business degree in management and marketing. Went to work, in the finance department, was making good money there, and then got laid off. Unfortunately, because they closed our location down here, and I was working for Smith Barney. Mm-hmm. In that time frame, though, I got married my college sweetheart, and we bought a couple investment properties because we love watching flip this house, right? Who doesn't love that?
You talk to a lot of people about real estate, and that's the first thing. Oh, like the little house flipper show, right? And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then the market crashed. Our 2 investment properties were rented by people that had gotten laid off from a small computer company that rhymes with hell, Dell.
Yep.
And they struggled, and so we struggled. So we were making 6 mortgage payments on a private school teacher salary, which doesn't go very far. So
I can't imagine
luckily for me, did whatever I could for 6 months, waiting tables, doing whatever I could to find a job. Got a job in high tech here for a few months, and then got back into the finance side of banking and enjoyed that. I love financial services. I love working with people and helping people overcome debt and get out of the rat race. And
wait, so what crash was this? The .com crash or
this was a .com crash?
Oh, this is .com. Okay,
2004, 2002, 3, and roughly around 2004 is actually when this happened. So
got it.
Got lucky enough that a buddy of mine that I worked with, he'd been laid off as well. He got hooked up with a couple real estate investors here in town that were traveling the country, teaching people creative financing, owner financing, wraparound mortgages, distressed debt. And he was starting a mortgage company with them. And I was like, that's kind of what I want to do. So I left working for Chase Bank and went to work for those guys. And we launched this company. We were doing loans in 30 states and kicking butt and taking names. I was on the road 2-3 times a month at big seminars, but I was sitting in the back of the room being a vendor, but I took notes, copious amounts of notes at all these real estate experts. And for 4 years, I basically had an apprenticeship with these investors. So I learned all the right ways to do real estate investing and all the truths, not the fictional show that was on A&E TV or HD.
Yeah, every deal works out and things like that. Everything's, you're making $60,000 off of flip. And,
you just got to put some paint on it and that's right. It's never how it works. Well, coming up to 2008, we know what happened then with a mortgage meltdown, right?
Absolutely.
So I had learned and had started kind of dabbling in the note business of buying a few notes here and there. And what I mean by a note is a mortgage on a house. And when everything hit the fan, I was smart enough. I left the mortgage business and I really that's what I focused on. I started dialing for dollars, calling 50 to 100 phone calls a day to banks and asset managers. And I started getting lists sent to me. Now, don't get me wrong. there was a period where it got really, really tight. I mean, I had 2 big rehabs going on in town here that had gone from $300,000 in value to $150 in value because all the foreclosures. I wrote a couple big checks. I literally at the point I had sold my house. I'd gotten divorced, and I wasn't doing well, man. I was struggling, but I was starting to get some grasp and get on track where I need to be with reaching to these banks and starting to have deals sent to me. And I was like, man, I'm starting to get so many lists sent to me all across the country. I'm in Austin, Texas, and Austin didn't do too bad during the meltdown, but I was like, I got to get out of town. I had a business partner. We went a different way. So what I did, I got really kind of ballsy, guys. I was sitting there watching ESPN one night, middle of March, a couple of weeks before the start of the Major League Baseball season. Go Nationals. Congratulations to you guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Go Astros.
Man, we got a lot of opposites going on here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I see the commercial like, hey, you know, it's $8 for a hot dog, $10 for a beer. Going with your son to all 30 Major League Baseball parks, priceless, right? You remember those commercials, right?
Of course.
So, well, why couldn't I do that? I'm a single guy now. You know, I could do that. And so I kind of jotted down tentatively what it would look like, where I would go, and I pulled up the Major League Baseball schedule to see who's playing who, where, and when. I figured, okay, 30 weeks on the road, I can hit all the Major League Baseball parks. Why not? I got friends in most of these places. And I started to kind of teach a little bit of the note investing side of the game and some workshops and sharing things with people. I said, why not? And so I put this down. I literally wrote it down, okay? Within 2 weeks, I had 5 or 6 investment clubs and real estate conferences reach out to me from blogs that I was writing on the deals that I was starting to close on. And they asked me, can you come speak at our event? Or can we use your stuff in our blogs? I was like, yeah, when would you want me to come speak? And the days they asked me to speak, swear to God, exactly when I would have been in that area for a baseball game.
Really?
No way.
Total divine intervention. So I said, okay, I'll go. Hey, thanks, guys. So I sold everything I owned. My last house, I sold everything. It was like a garage sale for 2 weeks. Everything must go except the dog, okay, and my truck. And
wow.
Then we jumped in my truck. 1st of April, we drove it to Dallas, spoke there one night, won a ball game the next night, drove to Houston. And what I thought would be 30 weeks turned into over 3.5 years of nonstop travel, of speaking and teaching. I hit Florida, and I spent like 4 months in Florida just buying all sorts of distressed debt on condos. I was picking up condo loans for like $5,000 on Miami Beach back in the day. Just ridiculous. Wow. And that kind of is what kind of created the Note Guy, because I shared my journey in videos and YouTube stuff. And
so, yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Where were you posting these blogs that it got the attention?
Hub pages. Hub pages was, for the most part, or just sharing to my Facebook page, and people that I was friends with started to take notice. And as people start, hey, you know, what's going on with the note game? It reminds us of the RTC days of the 80s, the Resolution Trust Corporation and the savings and loan scandals that happened. It was kind of repeating itself, but much worse. So there wasn't that many people doing it. And I was one of the few that was actually out there, you know, knocking doors for the most part.
So were you putting out blogs every day? How often were you doing this?
Yeah. So here's the thing. I decided that I wanted to share my journey. I said, let me show how I want to make $100,000 in 100 days. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so I started sharing a short little video and a little like 3 to 5 paragraph blog on what I did each day. You know, what was the highlight of the day? What did I do? Who did I meet with? And I got so busy by day 56, I didn't have time to go back and finish it. So I ended up making $100,000 in like day 75.
Wow.
And just, you know, I just shared Hub pages and Facebook and LinkedIn. Those are the 3 things. And in that matter of like the first 30 days, I had thousands of people that were following me and watching it and communicating, and people calling me with deals. People call me, hey, I got $25,000 or I got $50,000. Can I invest with you? And I was like, let me figure something out and we'll go from there. So fast forward now, it's been over a decade. You know, it's hard to believe a decade flies by as fast as it has, but we've bought over $1 billion in debt. We've helped educate thousands of investors on the distressed note game. I was a 2014 Note Educator of the Year. And, you know, we've got the Note Closer Show podcast, which is just killing it. We've got millions of listeners across the country. The podcast is rocking out strong for the last 3 years. And I'm just more excited that we've really helped. And I make the joke, we've helped make America great again, one defaulted mortgage at a time.
That's great.
That's funny.
Give us the quick rundown of what you do to invest in notes and the strategy there.
Yeah. So it's a big question. Why would anybody buy a non-performing note to invest in?
Right.
So let's give some examples. So let's say there's a house that's worth $100,000. That's what the worth is. And let's say the borrower is upside down. Either they've lost their job, the market's gone down, divorce, whatever. Maybe they owe 110. Okay. If they lost a job, they haven't paid in 6 months, probably. Well, the banks look at that note. Banks are not in the business of wanting to own a real estate or assets. Right. They want to own notes. All right. So for every month that mortgage goes in default, the true value of that note to that bank drops like 5 to 10% each month, because they want to leverage every dollar they have coming in 10 to 50 times. Mm-hmm. So they would rather sell that note to somebody like me, maybe at 50 cents of what's owed. So I can buy that note, say at $55,000. It's still a good percentage to value, because it's worth 100. The borrower still owes 110 or whatever. And the fact that I bought it that cheap now gives me the flexibility to come and say, hey, Brandon, thanks for not making your mortgage payment to ABC Bank. You now need to make your mortgage payment to me. What happened? Let's figure something out that works. Did you lose your job? Can you not make 6 months of payments all at once, which we know is the truth? Most people don't have that money. So can you start making your existing payment? We take the 6 months and put it on the face value. Do we need to modify the loan? Do we need to reduce principal? I mean, I've bought debt where people have made a payment in 6 years.
So you're just you're buying these and then approaching the owner of the property at that point. So you're kind of doing it not necessarily blindly, but there's a strategy to it. But
there's a lot of due diligence involved. It's a whole different mindset than most fix and flippers. Fix and flippers, they see the property, they go in it, they rub it, they touch it, they hump it, getting excited about picking out paint and carpet. We don't get interior views of a lot of our properties. So we base our evaluation on we know we're going to put some repairs into it for the most part. We actually prefer occupied assets. We make more money by keeping people in their house. So let's go back to our numbers. $100,000 mortgage, maybe $800 a month. Okay. Let's say, and we bought it at 55. Well, if we don't start making that payment now on time, 800 times 12 is 9,600. 9,600 over a $55,000 investment. That's a pretty good ROI right there.
Yeah, it is.
If we get them to pay on time for 12 months now, that note is now considered reperforming. I can sell that back to Wall Street or back to other investors at 85, 90 cents on the dollar. So if I bought it at 55, I sell it at, say, 85. I just made 40% plus the cash flow along the way.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if they don't pay, stay.
Right.
We then just do like the banks would. We start the foreclosure process. We offer cash for keys to give them some money to walk away if they don't want to go through that. We just had somebody deed a property over to me in South Florida. They owed 80 on it. It was worth 60. They just walked away. We took the property back. I bought the note originally for 20, and we just sold it for 58,000, the REO.
So your first strategy is to try to nurse it back to health and get them to start paying and bring the loan current.
Yeah, that's always it's the most profitable. As we say, we like to, instead of rehabbing the property, we like to rehab the borrower. So we're the Betty Ford clinic for non-payers.
Right.
So that's hilarious. So if you come to me and I'm behind on my payments and you tell me, hey, Will, can you start paying us again? And I just simply can't, or I just simply won't. Then you will foreclose on the property. What do you do with it from there?
So we'll start the process. A lot of times when our attorney, sends a letter, it's a shot across the bow that we'll give them an option like, hey, sign the property over and walk away, or depends on what we paid for the note versus the value. We may give them some cash to walk, $5,000, $10,000, $2,000. But if they don't, then we do foreclose. We'll try to sell it at the auction, at the foreclosure auction. We'll price it accordingly. If not, we take the property back, and then we go from there. We can fix it up. We can turn it into a rental. We can owner finance it. If it needs a lot of work, I'll wholesale it to local investors. I'm running an ad right now in like 5 different newspapers for handyman specials.
Nice.
Bought, we knew these were properties needed some work when we bought them, because we bought them as a portfolio. And these were the remnants of the remnants. We got them for basically nothing. And so that's the thing, is we're able to price things and look at our due diligence. I mean, the beautiful thing is we're buying directly from banks. So these banks will have call logs and servicing notes of what the borrower told them when they were trying to get them to pay on time. If they told them to F off, okay, we know we're going to have to probably foreclose on that one. But when we get the collateral files, like we'll literally get copies of the collateral file. So here's like one I got sitting here. So this is on a property.
If you're just listening to this, he's showing us on the video.
Yeah, I've got a thick
thick file.
Wow. This is what the pen is mightier than the hammer for sure. Because
that's one property right there.
This is one property in Kankakee, Illinois. Yeah, I paid $17,000 for this mortgage. That's the guy owes, what do you know, $75,000, and
wow.
You know, he walked away, and so you know we got to make sure that's what we're checking. Make sure all the collateral's there, that we have the right to foreclose, the original signatures.
So if you bought the note for $17,000 and the house is worth $75,000, could you just turn around and sell it right then?
If I could wholesale the note. Yeah, I could sell the note to another note investor for 34 or 45. Something. But for me to be able to really truly sell the property, I've got to go through either the legal side of foreclosure or have the borrower deed the property and walk away. In some cases, borrowers already walked away, so we can't track them down. So we have to go through the foreclosure process, and it varies from state to state. I mean, Texas is fast. I mean, we do everything faster, fast foreclosures, fast highways, and fast executions. You know what I mean? I have noise machines over here.
I like that. Yeah,
that's great.
But in states like New York, New Jersey, I mean, New York can take over 2 years to foreclose. So I don't buy that. So
yep, they're very tenant friendly and
ridiculous
on our end of things. So I imagine on that side, it's horrible as well.
Well, that means if I am buying stuff there, I'm not only like offering like 10 cents on the dollar. So.
Yeah, I'll bet. Yeah. So where are you getting these opportunities from?
Good question.
I mean, where's the market for notes or underperforming notes? Right, exactly.
Right? We don't have one. And, you know, if you go to your local bank, let's make something sure that this way your listeners don't get in trouble when they walk into their banker. Hey, I want to make a deposit. I want to buy some notes.
It's a good way to get kicked out real quick.
We don't sell our notes because they don't know. I mean, when I was a banker for Chase, I didn't even know about this. You know, I knew the mortgage department, but I know that banks buy and sell mortgages all day long on the secondary market. But there's inside of each bank, inside of each like lending institutions, there's usually a couple departments. And if anybody gets anything from that, you want to write this down or text it to yourself. Just don't get in a wreck if you're listening to this while you're driving or running on that treadmill.
Yeah, we are not liable for your accidents.
Exactly. We're not liable. Thank you. Thanks for that disclosure there, Brandon.
Yep.
The people that handle the note sales go by the name of the secondary marketing department, secondary marketing, the special assets department, or the whole loan trading desks.
And these are all within the bank system?
Yeah, they're all in the banks. Oftentimes they're different sides of the country, different buildings than your main, you know. You can jump on LinkedIn. If you type in special assets on LinkedIn, you probably find about 1 million people that have that in their title. And that's a good place for us to start. When we started doing this 10 years ago, is I would just spend time at night just sending direct messages to asset managers, and they would refer me to the right person that handles the note sales. And then
you build relationships.
That's the beautiful thing that I love about this. I'm so glad you brought this. Most real estate investors are out there sending out yellow letters or door knocking and getting shot at, or bandit signs out that code enforcement loves.
Yeah.
You know, trying to get one borrower to send them, you know, call back on one deal. I've done it before. I didn't want to do that. So what we do is we make these relationships with bankers who send us lists every month, every quarter, sometimes just once a year.
Mm-hmm.
But it may be one every month, or it may be like I just got a list in this morning of 500 different assets in 20 different states that I can cherry pick from.
Yeah, I mean, just think about how many doors you would have to knock on to get 500 leads like that.
Well, exactly. And we do a lot of follow-up. A lot of our deals that we close come like 60 days after we made initial bids, because the banks may hold on to it for a while and wait for more bids to come. If they don't we just follow up. They're like, okay, we'll sell it to you. And that's a great thing. I mean, we buy a lot in bulk. I mean, last year I bought 700 notes all across the country. You know, I've still got a portfolio of like 425 that we work on a regular basis. It's a mixture, and we talk about wealth junkies here.
Right.
And we talk, I can do this from anywhere. I can do it from here in Austin. I can do it from the middle of the Mediterranean. If I had good internet signal, I've done it from Spain, traveling, because it's all numbers. You know, we're looking at assets. We have vendors, you know, like real estate agents that will drive by the properties. We have servicing companies that are calling the borrowers. If I've got to foreclose or take it legal, we have our attorneys that just step in. I'm not the guy making phone calls. My staff is not the people calling the borrowers. There are licensed professionals in each state. Because when you start dealing with debt, you've got to have some licensing, usually as either as a debt collector or as a debt servicer.
Okay.
And so it's all vendor driven for the most part. So that's the beauty of this, is you don't have to have a big office and have a huge team of people paying salaries. It's all vendor driven for the most part. So
how many people do you have directly under your fold?
So we've been up to as many as 15, and right
Okay.
now we are at like 4.
Oh, wow. So you have a pretty lean operation there.
I have one in my office here in Austin, Texas. I have a lady that used to work for my servicing company who works from home in New Jersey. I have another lady that works in South Carolina from her house who handles all our documents when we buy notes and the paperwork that goes along with that. I have a part-time title rep person that comes in when we're getting ready to close on assets, and she looks at the collateral files for me to make sure everything's good to go. I have another guy that works remotely in Irvine, California that looks at the title reports that we pay when we're getting ready to pull. And then, of course, I have my VP of operations who doesn't really handle much of the deal. She handles a lot of our events and things like that. So it's pretty.
So this is a relatively low overhead type of business if done correctly.
It is, but I'm going to tell everybody out there in your audience, look, the most important hire you can make would be an assistant of some sort. Maybe they're not doing the stuff that you're doing on a regular basis, but they're doing the other things that are below your pay grade. And so, yeah, we're getting ready to hire like 3 more interns for different marketing things and stuff like that. You know, interns come and go as the year goes through, but we've got a couple of VAs. You know, we pay $3 to $4 an hour that do data-driven stuff for us, and then there's also websites that we can scrub when we're doing due diligence on a large trade or anything like that.
Yeah, so, I was just reading a book, and the chapter is all about delegation, and you know, as entrepreneurs, you want to hold on and grasp onto everything and be in control of everything, but it talks about, you know, you're 5% unique out of, you know, the 100% of yourself. So figure out that 5% that you're unique at, and then delegate the other 95% that everybody else can do. And,
was that 4-hour work week?
No, it was actually Blue Fishing by
oh,
Steve
nice.
Sims.
Steve Sims, yeah.
Yeah, but you mean Mr. Bourbon?
Yes.
Yeah.
Steve is such a great guy. I've got a chance to hang out with him in California a couple times.
Yeah, we interviewed him in an earlier show.
He was a
awesome.
character. Yeah, he was
a character to say.
Right.
Yeah.
So if someone's listening to this and they like what you're saying and they're interested and think they have the skill set to do this and it really excites them, what would you say is the first step?
So with anything, you got to get educated.
Okay.
That's the biggest thing. I mean, and it's a different mindset. You have to approach this from the mind of a banker, not the mind of a fix and flipper.
Not an HGTV person.
Yeah. So you almost have to retrain what you're looking at. Everybody gets excited when they look at property with equity, you know, where the borrower only owes like $50,000, the house is worth $100,000. Well, with me, I don't like those types of deals, because if I have to foreclose on that note, I can only foreclose really for what I'm owed. So if the borrower only owes $50,000, the house is worth $100,000, my max I can make the bid at the foreclosure auction is $50,000. If it sells for $70,000, that $20,000 overage goes to the borrower, it doesn't go to me. And so, and then you're looking at, some people can't get beyond the fact, well, I mean, I can't get in the house to look at repairs. I'm like, no, you got John Smith living in the house.
Right.
You just want to knock on the door. Hey, I'm getting ready to buy your note. Let me look and make sure your toilet's not overflowing. You know what I mean? So
that's funny. So what is your?
Okay. You know, we got a ton of videos. That's one of the things that we pride ourselves in, is what we do. A lot of YouTube videos on different education, different webinars. There's a lot of great stuff. There's a lot of people teaching the notes in the note space now. We've actually spawned quite a few of our students are out teaching stuff in their different markets and stuff like that. But our website, We Close Notes, has so many resources on there that you can take a look at and go from there.
That's great. I'm sure that in your training, you talk about all this, but when you bought your first note, you didn't have a ton of cash, right?
No.
So how did you put together the capital to do that?
How do you still put the capital together?
Yeah, such a great question. So I wholesaled when I first got started because I didn't have any capital to downturn. So like I got a list in my first trade I got in. I got a list of 75 notes from Wells Fargo Financial. Yeah, they're not even around anymore. They're like your neighborhood subprime lender. Okay,
yep.
Back in the day,
all those Countrywide, all those guys are gone.
Yeah, I mean they were. I mean seriously, I almost went to work for them out of college. They were like your neighborhood subprime lender.
Wow.
And what they did is they made loans, risky loans, like 9, 10, 12% loans to people. And it had all these properties. And I'm like, okay, so I'll give you an example. I bought a note on a mobile home in Las Vegas. It was worth maybe 20. I paid, the guy came to me. I offered $1,000. He countered at 5. We settled on 3. Okay.
Well, Pawn Stars action here.
Yeah. And I flipped it to somebody local for a $6,000 profit. Now it turns out, I think it was a working brothel actually.
That's hilarious.
Well, good thing you got out of it then.
Yeah. You know,
That's a cool story for your first one.
That was a really great one.
A working brothel.
Yeah, exactly. I really got more involved on commercial notes initially because that was everybody kind of had that figured out. So I dialed for dollars a lot of times. You know, I mean, you're gonna make a lot of phone calls initially. Well, I knew Capital One was selling some commercial notes, so I spent 3 weeks, dialed like 70 times. I can't tell you how many times I got transferred to Pakistan or India. And they're like, "Hello, my name is Steve." I'm like, "No, it's not. You're not the right person to talk to." But I finally got a hold of the right lady, and she sent me a PDF, a 33-page PDF with all their non-performing mortgages across the country. So much it was down to 6-point font. If you can imagine how
oh man.
So I looked at it. I found an 8-unit apartment complex in San Diego that they wanted to get rid of the note on. The guy owed like $548 on it. It was worth $700, and they were willing to. I got him to negotiate the loan down to $375 for me.
Wow.
I marketed it. I jumped online. I posted to Facebook groups. Hey, I got this deal. Put a picture of the property, but I didn't give the address. It was fully occupied. The guy was just trying to use it as an ATM. I wholesaled that note for $35,000 profit 25 hours later.
That is crazy. So you can just when you think that you know everything about real estate.
Yeah, because you're just securing it, right, as a wholesaler. And
just put it under contract. We just sold the contract. Amy at the bank didn't care, just as long as the money showed up in zeros and ones.
Right.
I didn't have to put up any earnest money. You know,
you just had to put in the work.
I had to put in the work to put the deal together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
so it's no different from the guys that are out there putting properties under contract and then selling them to a flipper. It's pretty much the same exact thing, just with the debt.
Yeah, exactly. It's a sale agreement with a commission agreement attached to it, or a wholesale agreement. And so it was two. I just forwarded the contract that I signed from Capital One, which is like 20 pages, and my 1-page wholesaling fee. Now, that investor, Matt out of San Diego, the guy bought it, he ended up working it through and getting the bar to send. He made $150,000, but it took him 6 months to put that deal together to make $150,000. But
right.
Who won and who lost? I think we both won because I needed the money.
Exactly.
Now was great. I got another trade in. I was calling and got a hold of a mortgage company in Houston that was going out of business, and they had a $5 million portfolio of just Houston area loans that they wanted to get rid of. And so it was a $5 million trade. Well, we ended up I negotiated 5 points into it for me. So it took a couple people putting it together in relationships. So there was 5 of us that were involved in it that split $250,000.
Wow.
And still not a bad day. It took us 90 days to put that deal together, but
that's more than some people make in a year.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So
I became a note junkie at that point.
Sounds like it. So I don't blame you.
Where are you getting the capital now? I know you mentioned some investors.
So here's the thing. You got to be very careful about what you're doing when you're talking with people. That's part of the reason we started the podcast and really started speaking more out on different things. Why we do much trainings is we deal with a lot of investors, lots of people that have self-directed IRA funds. We always want to make sure and interview them, have a relationship with them, get to know them. I always like to try to get them to go through a class or workshop of some sort so they have a feeling for that. They understand this is different. I mean, sometimes, especially when you're buying non-performing notes, if you're going to work the deals, they can take 12 to 24 months to work through to come to a resolution, not like 90 days like a fix and flip. So I'm a big recommendation of putting like a fund together, a Reg A, if you're going to deal with accredited investors or a special purpose LLC, but always have a securities attorney talk with you to put it together, the paperwork together and register with the local, state or whatever.
They'll keep you out of jail.
Well, it's not necessarily going to jail because you're not doing anything criminal. It's just civil penalties, and you don't want to face being sued and things like that too. So
right.
Yeah. Oh, man, I had a great question. I just completely forgot what it was. I got my notepad. Sorry. Go ahead. And
we'll come back to it.
Yeah.
I think that the most important thing is, it's the first quarter of 2020. People, there's so many ways to make money. And honestly, we're all in the note game. We all are. Everybody that's out there listening to it, if you're making a payment on your car, your student loans, your credit cards, your mortgage, you're in the note game. You're just on the wrong side of the payment streams. And that's, I love the note business because you're the bank, and the banks are the biggest institutions, the biggest buildings out there. And that's where they make the most about your money. And banks, for every dollar that they have coming in, they're lending it out and leveraging it 15 to 50 times out there,
That's
they're
wild.
giving you 1/10 of 1% in a savings account, and they're making, doing a loan at 8%. Well, that's not
Right.
That's a 8,000% return on
The
investment.
spread there is just insane.
I get so frustrated when I see a couple cents each month get deposited in my savings account. I'm like,
yeah, it's
this is
almost like an
ridiculous.
insult.
Yeah, I'm like, just keep your change, man.
Yeah, exactly.
There's different self-directed IRA companies across the country that host events. A lot of them have a lot of note investors, because that's a great way to waste capital. Where you guys are located, you got Mid-Atlantic IRA, which is in that.
Yeah, I've dealt with them. Yeah.
Jack Kiley that runs that is a great job with education. Here in Texas, we have Quest Trust Company with Nathan and Quincy Long, who do a tremendous job. I mean, all across the country, there's self-directed IRA companies. That's a smart thing to do. Use your IRA. A lot of people are using that to buy notes for their own investments for cash flow. The fact that you have a servicing company and third party that allows for you to, so it's not self-dealing. And
right.
I mean, if you can buy a performing note, making a 10 to 15% return on investment on a performing note, that's hard to beat just about anywhere.
Yeah,
right.
Agreed.
It definitely is. So, if you're putting together funds, it sounds like you're buying some pretty big deals essentially. So are you buying them in bulk, or are these single properties or single notes that you're buying, or?
Great question, Brandon. We do both.
Okay.
We'll buy one-off deals and then, have just one investor involved on that deal, or 2 or 3 deals, and we'll have just one investor that funds the deal.
Right.
On a bigger trade, we'll do a variety of things. We may bring in just some bigger investors to fund the deal, and we'll work with Jillian Sadati out of California. She's our securities attorney that puts our private placements together. Or we'll just, if we need to, we can parse it off. Okay, we got 10 investors. You're taking these 2, you're taking these 2, you're taking that 2, and go on that route in their individual agreements with those guys and gals out there to make some things happen. So,
yeah, that makes
wow,
sense.
that's interesting. That's
so
really cool.
Is there kind of a typical minimum investment that you see, or is it just based off of property or note, like you said?
That's a really good question. We get that a lot. I mean, I've bought notes. Like I bought a note the other day with $6,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's what my investment was on it. It's not going to be the greatest investment, but it's going to be I've got a specific play for it that we know it's going to, I put it into my IRA. It's going to yield pretty decent returns for my IRA. But I always tell people, like, listen, if you're going to do, you're going to learn more from doing than anything. So if you've got $25,000, maybe you can get 1 or 2, maybe a contract for deed, deal, maybe a lower value stuff. Don't throw money away. Learning. Now, some people have done that. Like, I bought a couple crappy deals just to learn. I'm like, well, that's a expensive tuition course right there.
Right.
A lot better ways to learn.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we talk about networking. That's why we talk about, there's so much information online and vendors that you can learn from, that you don't have to throw money away trying to learn. I mean, you were going to learn more from doing anything at any point, but get educated to learn. Pick out a couple states that have inventory. I mean, if you're listening to this in California, I mean, it's the land of fruits and nuts. Some of the droughts, it's just nuts out there now. Doesn't make sense to buy in California. Way overpriced. The banks know the value. I mean, here in Austin, we've had a really great, strong market the last 10 years. I haven't bought anything here in Austin in almost a decade now. I buy a lot in like the Midwest, Ohio, Michigan, Illinois, Indiana. Here we go for us sports fans. The Big Ten, the Southeast Conference, the ACC, and the Big 12. Those are the 4 conferences I'm buying in most of the time.
Yeah, that over on our side of the world.
Yep. Virginia is a great state because it's a faster foreclosure state. Okay,
right.
But you don't see a lot of stuff in the DC area because you got some pretty educated people that are paying their mortgages on time, right?
Correct.
West Virginia,
and it's extremely expensive.
Deliverance country.
Right.
We see some stuff around universities, but if it's rural, remote areas, that's the thing. If it's going to be hard to get to, avoid it. So we try to buy assets that are near major cities, or at least in an area where they've got like a major university, D1 university. If worst case, we got to take that asset back. We can turn it into a college rental or an Airbnb. I mean, I've bought some assets up in South Bend, Indiana, that 7 weeks out of the year we make, they're filled for the weekends for home games.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
In short-term rates, and the other 6 months of the year, we turn into a 6-month rental.
So do you have a bunch of properties that you currently hold in your portfolio just as rentals from this?
I'm not a big fan of the rent game. It's too much work. I'd rather be able to sit somewhere and do it. I mean, there are property managers in some of the areas we do. Like I've got some stuff in South Florida near a base down there that's operated by the on-base housing authority, basically. They do short-term, like 90-day lieutenants come through there. They pay like 125% of normal market rents.
Yep.
So I just get a check. It's almost like easy Section 8 for the most part.
Right.
Okay.
But for the most part, if it's me a one-off stuff, it doesn't make sense for me to have a property manager and deal with issues. I don't like toilets.
Such a headache.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's why if anybody's going to get wealthy out there, here's a tip. Focus. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make is they go to a workshop and another workshop and the workshop, and they get sold this bag of crap about adding tools to the tool belt. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. There's so many tools a belt can hold.
Yeah, you don't see the roofer being a plumber. You don't see the foundation guy trying to be an interior decorator. Okay, focus on one thing. Find something you enjoy. Find something that's going to work in the market that you want, and then just focus, and you'll have a whole lot more success. Gary
Keller's book, The One Thing, is, you're nodding your head. I assume that you've read it. It's amazing, and it just talks about how, if you're chasing you're chasing two rabbits, you'll catch neither. So it's all about, and you look at the guys, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, they focused. They just honed in on what they were good at, did that, and focus is really what led to their success.
Yeah, you have to be, man. And not everybody's cut out for the note business. I'll tell you that right now. Engineers are not really cut out for the note business because there's so many what ifs.
They overthink.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
What ifs this? They can't put it into a spreadsheet and formulate it, and so they have like this meltdown. Who does really good in our neck of the woods? Landlords who are tired of being a landlord. They want to be a lean lord. They want to just get the cash flow versus dealing with they're anti-people. Ex-mortgage professionals. They come from the origination side. They understand it and work really well here. But we got a lot of people that, they're looking for cash flow and they buy, performing note once a quarter. They're happy with it. It's going to pay them for 7 to 15 years. If the borrower pays off sooner, hey, great. Turn that money around and then go back to what you bought one note with, turn around, and now you can double down or triple down in some cases.
Very cool.
So what's something that you wish you would have done earlier with this that you realize now? So let's say someone's starting off in this. What's something that you could give to them that they could do that you didn't do in the beginning?
Here's two things. I'll give 2 bits of advice. One, I wish I would have bought more. Mm-hmm. Okay. When I look back to what pricing on assets were, 10 years ago on this stuff, I was buying stuff at pennies and nickels on the dollar. So I let the fact that I didn't have any capital affect what I made offers on. A lot of people will have like 20, 30 grand safe. So they only make offers that will be that 20, 30 grand, like 2 or 3 assets. Well, not everything is going to get accepted. I mean, most people will only have about a 10% acceptance ratio to begin with. So that means you really need to make 10 offers to get one accepted. Mm-hmm. So bid on more assets, market more. Whether you like it or not, everybody, we're all not in the note or the real estate or the fix and flip business. We're all in the media business these days.
Right. Absolutely. Social media, everything like that.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are doing a great job here with your podcast and the YouTube videos and the social media and LinkedIn. So market more, learn marketing because it will apply across whatever niche you're doing. You could be selling tiddlywinks or freaking, dog poop services and note deals or whatever like that. But marketing will help separate you from the crowd. And into today's noisy world, the more you can market and stand out from the crowd, the better off you're going to be and the wealthier you'll be in the long run.
Most definitely. And I know I've said this before, but Grant Cardone says it best. He says, it's not about who you know, it's about who knows you. And the more marketing you do, you're not going to know all your followers if you're a great marketer, but all those followers, they know who you are. And that's what's most important.
Exactly. Grant is a bit of a douche sometimes. But if you think, he knows his shit. I'll tell you that right now.
He does. Yeah.
And let me tell you this. The guy gets front row tickets to 2 years ago when to the World Series in the front row, right behind, and he's wearing his 10X cap and he's got a little flag marketing his services. So if he's going to do that, come on now.
That's hilarious. He's a walking commercial, it seems.
Walking billboard,
yeah, exactly. So that's funny. Well, what are some of your goals and just what's your vision moving forward?
So for the last 8 years, we've been saying in the industry this is going to be like a 3-year to 5-year market and still around. When the recession hits again, when we're going to have a downturn, we're going to see a lot more notes. I mean, we still see a lot now. I mean,
so you guys are probably hoping for a downturn.
In a downturn, we get much happier.
Right? Yeah.
But I've bought and sold so many things. We can do it with my eyes closed, and my hands tied on my back. But I get excited about, like you guys, you have a amazing goal of helping 1,000 people leave the rat race and become wealthy. We've done that. We've got something like that set for years of helping people. You know, we set a goal 5 years ago to help 10,000 people become note investors, and we did that in our first three and a half years. So
wow.
Thing I'm a big proponent of is I love helping people. I want to see where the market is. My big goal is I'm 42. By the time I hit in 3 years, 4 years, is be somewhere tropical, full time.
Yep. Just
doing webinars
the
and
benefits
podcasts with the water in the background versus just the parking lot.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That'd be a great background for you.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, Scott, we're going to jump into our Moments of Truth segment here. It's the same 7 questions that we ask all our guests, and we're excited to hear your answers for them. So the first question.
We have a drum roll?
Let's hear it. Boom. So your first question, who is your success role model?
My success role model would be my father, be my hero as well. My dad was an entrepreneur early in a long farmer, and went back to school to be out of school during the Korean War, and started up different companies, and just my success. My dad taught me my work ethic and told me to treat people fairly, and you're not always going to be right. And you're going to screw up. So when you do screw up, hey, just tell the truth and move on. It'll be a lot happier. And I think success isn't always about money. It's about sometimes the quality of life and the memories that you make. Because wealth is great, but if you burn your bridges along the way, can't enjoy it with family and friends, it's not worth it.
Amen.
That's a great way to put it.
Yep. What's your biggest success?
My biggest success. When I started doing this in 2010, I went to a conference called the Noteworthy Summit for the first time. It was like 800 people at it, and they were giving away Educator of the Year awards. And I was like, man, that would really be cool to have that happen at one point. And then I was able to realize that back in 2014 when I was awarded that out of the thing. I would say my biggest success is just what my students have done. We've got coaching students, and we get together a couple times a year for masterminds. And we were in Florida last year, and I asked how many deals each person had closed, and it was over 2,000 deals combined between that group that was there.
Wow.
I was overwhelmed just thinking about how many families that we'd helped and how many communities we'd helped. And if you think about that and the growth of that, it's really kind of the ripple effect. And so I've got students that have closing hundreds of deals a year now and really changing their lives. That's my biggest success, is the impact I've had on the community.
Yeah, that's going to be a great feeling just seeing that you've been able to do that. Next question. What does a typical day for you look like?
Here we go. That's a good question. Typical day, I'm usually up between 8 and 9 o'clock. I'm usually I'm reading. I'm usually checking out what's going on in the U.S. today, seeing how many points the Cowboys scored in the Washington Redskins.
Yeah. Probably not many, but actually the last,
it's the only game they showed up to.
At least they put up 500. Redskins, what were they? 3 and
well, the Redskins are too busy taking selfies on the sidelines.
Yes,
right.
Hey, we got to look good.
Yeah, I'm usually rolling around the house 8 or 9, reading what's going on in the news. I don't check my emails till roughly noon most of the time.
So you don't wake up at you don't do the whole morning miracle thing where you wake up at 4 a.m. or anything like that.
Dude, I like my sleep. I'm more of a night owl more than anything else.
Oh, okay.
I like snuggling up with my girl, so that's always a good thing. So we work hard. I don't have to report to an asshole of a boss. So
right.
I'm really lucky that my office is only like a 1-minute drive from my house. So I take 2 left turns and I'm in my office here.
Nice.
I could work from home, and I do that some days, but there's a lot of distractions. So I knew that I'd be better having my own office and separate.
Sure.
So come to the office, cup of coffee or a Red Bull, a couple bananas. First thing I do when I get in the office is marketing. We are doing a podcast, or I'm on somebody else's podcast, or I'm double checking, seeing what's going on with our assets or trades or things like that. Just checking with my team. Usually, like I said, that's from 10 to noon. Usually I have my trainer that comes to my office at noon. We have a gym downstairs. So then I work out for an hour because I want to make sure that my mind and my body are a big thing. If I'm going to work my ass off, I want to make sure that I can enjoy it later on in the morning.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah, there's no use in dying a year later.
Yeah, exactly. So then in the afternoons is usually talking with either students, investors. We usually have an email blast that goes out once every 2 weeks to asset managers. So I'm usually fielding calls with bankers. We send a link so that they can actually schedule a 15-minute speaking spot with me in the afternoon. So I'm on the phone with them. seeing what they have and talking with them. And then Mondays and Wednesdays are late days in the office. We do a webinar every Monday night called Note Night in America. And we do a different topic. It's open to the public. And so I'm usually in the office till 8:30 for that. Other days I'm out of the office at 5. Wednesdays, we do a podcasting webinar with podcasters across the country on marketing. And then, Thursdays and Fridays, it's kind of the same schedule, till about 4 or 5. Fridays, I usually will take off if I'm traveling somewhere as a travel day, or I'll leave the office around 5 or 6 just because everybody else is in traffic. They're not getting anywhere for an hour, so I might as well get some work done. So I prep.
Absolutely. Smart.
Prep my next week, usually, making sure the emails go out for our marketing, our schedules on Friday, or we're dealing with closings. Is our wires coming in? Do we have wires going out? And then just touching with my vendors, say, hey, we just closed on this stuff. Here's what's coming to you. Or, hey, we just sold these off. You don't need to work on these anymore on Fridays. So Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's an organized week. That's good.
Yep,
well, I always found that if you can time block, you're going to be much more effective.
Definitely.
And hit, don't get me wrong.
100%.
Yeah. I don't do lunch appointments. People like to go for lunch appointments. That's a 2 hour of my schedule that's often to be wasted. Because you think about, okay, I got to drive. I got to leave 30 minutes to drive somewhere. I got to be there for an hour. It's never an hour lunch.
It's always longer.
And if somebody's late, then that drags into it. And then 30-minute drive back. So I lost 2 hours of productivity. So that's why we started doing workouts at noon. And and then if somebody wants to do it, I just do a Zoom call with them. Like, hey, I don't need a 50-minute lunch for a 5-minute conversation. Let's maximize it and get going from there.
Yeah, the lunch is just an excuse, right?
Yeah.
So
that's right. What's your favorite quote?
Ralph Waldo Emerson, and I'm going to butcher this because I didn't have this plan, but do not go where the path may lead. Instead of go where there is no path and leave a trail.
That's a great one.
That is good.
Yeah, create your own path.
That's what I felt like I did in the note business. 10 years ago, there wasn't a lot of education, a lot of stuff on what it is. So I just went out and started sharing, stupid YouTube videos of me making phone calls and getting hung up by asset managers or YouTube.
Well, see, in the beginning, it probably felt stupid to you, but now that you look back at it, you're probably like, I'm so glad I did this.
Oh yeah. I mean, 15, 16,000 views later. And I can't tell you how many people said, like, I really like the video where you get hung up on like 3 times in a row. And the asset manager tells you to F off. I'm like, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
It's funny. I was just reading Crushing It by Gary Vee. It's a follow-up to his original Crush It. And, he talks about documenting everything that you do. So that way in 10 years, when you're successful and things like that, those valuable moments, when you first started off, are more valuable than really where you are at now, because people get to see that, hey, this isn't an overnight success. This is something that, took time. He got hung up on, there was a lot of bullshit that he had to deal with. And, it takes time to get to where you want to be.
It totally does. And everybody sees the success. They don't see what you're going through. And
correct.
I've had ups and downs. I've had deals that have been home runs. And then I get some deals that are just sucking ass. And I don't let the bad deals affect me from going out and buying new deals. Like right now, I've got some deals that are just, eat my lunch. They're just dragging out. I got some investors like, it's dragging on longer. I'm like, hey, we're getting through it. We're buying more deals. We're getting through it. And it's a tough time, but I'm like, in a year, it won't make a difference. In 5 years, it ain't going to make a difference. We're always going to take care of our people. And so that's the thing. Some people get so bogged out. The first deal they didn't go the way they wanted to, and they just get scared and run away. You can't do that.
Right. It's got to be over the long haul. Yeah.
Yeah. And with social media these days, you got to look at people. It's so like instant gratification, that dopamine that somebody hit the like button or the heart button.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Somebody said, I sent an email out to 1,000 people and I got 5 people that responded. They loved it. And the one person called me an asshole and an idiot. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing because that one person who doesn't know what the hell they're doing anyway.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's so good. You got to ignore the noise.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick says.
So other than the Cowboys, what are your hobbies?
So I love to travel. That's a big thing. I love just going to different places, whether it's going to Europe or going to the Mediterranean. We're a big fan of taking cruises so we can hit multiple locations in a week or 2 weeks. That's my big thing. I love baseball. So we hit a lot of the Major League Baseball parks. One year traveling, I hit 22 out of the 30 parks that we talked about early on, which was really great.
Wow.
Go Longhorns. They didn't have the year they needed to have, but a great way to wrap up the bowl season. You know, and that's the thing is we go to concerts. We just try to have fun. I mean, life. My dad passed away over a decade ago. One of the things he left me was life is all about making memories. You know, go make sure you enjoy it. Go try new things. Go new places. Don't hide out in your house. You know, there's a lot of places you can go to for free or new experiences that don't cost much money. Go do it. You know,
Right.
that's
Very true.
You know, and just have fun and don't take yourself so seriously. I like making fun of myself. I laugh all the time. I screw up. So
yeah, we all do.
Well, the thing is, I always learn more when I screw up, or if I screw up on video, a lot of times it makes those that are watching it feel more comfortable. Like, oh, if this jackass can do it, I sure as hell can.
That's great.
I screw up the intro to the episodes almost every time. So, you know, after however many episodes we've done, you know,
it's your calling key. Brandon Dukeman screwing it up again.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Exactly. What's the best business book that you read?
Outwitting the Devil.
Say that one more time?
Outwitting the Devil. You've all read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's a book that Napoleon Hill wrote back in 1938, but never published it. And I'm friends with Don Green, who's the CEO of the Napoleon Hill Foundation. And a few years ago, he was in Napoleon Hill's office, which they still use, which is not, I think it's in Virginia, actually, now I think about it.
Okay.
He came across a red manuscript, and he took it to Mrs. Hill, and it said Outwitting the Devil. And the book is Napoleon basically having a fictional conversation with the devil, asking the devil what makes him so successful in keeping people from achieving success. And in the conversation, you know, it's a little spiritual in some cases when you're having a conversation with the devil. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
His wife didn't want him to publish it because she thought he'd throw him in the loony bin back in 1938. But it talks about the fact that the devil is able to get successful people, to not achieve the type of results they need because they drift. They get the shiny object syndrome, chase two rabbits, catch none, Russian proverb. Successful people are laser focused. They focus on one thing. They say no so that they can say yes to success. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing. And he gave the book to Sharon Lechter, who's the co-author, Think and Grow Rich with Robert Kiyosaki. And she's written a bunch of other books and is a phenomenal educator and advocate to financial literacy across the country. That's a great lady as well too. But she wrote the book, but left it basically as it was, but added what she thought Napoleon would think of in today's world, today's society. So Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill and Sharon Lechter. It's a phenomenal book. We've probably given hundreds and hundreds of copies of those that away to people, but it's trust me, everybody that reads it's like, oh, it's one of the top 3, top 5 books that they.
Yeah, I've never heard that.
That's very cool.
So
yeah.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
There'll be a link in the show notes to Brandon's Amazon account where you can purchase Outwitting
exactly.
the Devil.
There will be. And you're correct about that. Yeah.
Of course.
So Outwitting the Devil. Check it out in the show notes.
Ding, ding. Hang on.
There we go. Yes.
Your Amazon account.
Yep. The affiliate link, if it's a $10 book, we might get 10 cents from it.
But a stamp.
Yep.
Exactly.
Steph.
Will?
This is you. You got the last one.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. We've been doing it. Scott, if there's one key piece of advice you could leave our listeners with about achieving success, what do you think it would be?
Well, get in the game. The only thing that you guarantee by not taking action is failure. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I don't care what it is. If you want to start a nail salon or, buying notes or fixing houses or whatever it might be, take action. I mean, that's the only thing to do it. I mean, if you don't take action, you're never getting any further along. If you do take action and fall flat in your face, hey, you're going to be a lot more knowledgeable going forward. And you know what? Everybody who's successful at some point has had to stop for a little while. If you're in the middle and struggling out there and you need to stop what you're doing to go back to a job to pay the bills for a little while, hey, that's okay. Doesn't mean it's over. I mean, I heard Damon John from Shark Tank. We all know him. He's a smart one. Okay. The token smart guy on there.
The logical one too.
Yeah. Overnight success was an 8-year
that's funny
for him.
Yeah. It's a long night, but
it's so true. It just doesn't happen overnight. So
when I was here's a story I'll leave. I was a banker for JP Morgan Chase, and I had a client, Mr. Wu, who owned the Chinese restaurant in the mall in the food court, and he'd owned that restaurant for 10 years, and he had a couple million in the bank. And I said, hey, you mind me asking how'd you get because he owned a bunch of different makes. He goes, He goes, when I first moved to the country, I worked my ass off. I worked as a dishwasher. I worked way up to the way I built, saved as much as I could so I could get one. And I slept on the floor of my restaurant for 5 years, every night on my grass mat. And then I had the opportunity. I could either buy a house or I could buy another restaurant. And he goes, I chose to buy another restaurant. So for another 2 years, he slept on the floor of his first restaurant.
Wow.
While he had the second one. Then he bought a house, and then he was off and running and doing from there. And he goes, most people don't have a year of patience, let alone a month of patience.
Right. And he's got 7.
Yeah.
Right. That's a
awesome.
cool story. Just delayed gratification. Don't buy the expensive bullshit car today. Don't buy the Mercedes or the BMW. Instead, save it, buy an asset that's gonna produce more income for you, and then down the road you can buy all that dumb crap.
You use those assets to pay for.
Exactly. Don't be insta famous.
Right.
The people that flash the money or the watches and it's nice to have that stuff, but don't do it on the front end. Be the smart person.
Mm-hmm.
If a gray V-neck and jeans is your wardrobe like Zuckerberg is every day, okay, great, fine. Hey,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. That's that whole the movie American Gangster with Denzel Washington. I love this quote. He says, "The loudest man in the room is the weakest."
Yep.
So
exactly.
So
and
true.
Make sure you don't show up wearing a chinchilla suit or jacket in a box.
Yep. Exactly. That's why you got busted.
Yep. Exactly.
So Scott, how can our listeners get in contact with you and the show, your podcast and all that?
Yeah, really easy. They can go to weclosenotes.com. That's our main website, weclosenotes.com, and have links to the podcast. The podcast is the Note Closer Show podcast. We just recorded episode 560 yesterday.
Wow, congrats.
Thanks, man. They can go there. If they'd like to learn more about note investing, I got an ebook that they can download for free. You can buy it on Amazon if you want, but you might as well download it for free. Just go to noteblueprint.com/freebook. noteblueprint.com/freebook. And then I'll tell you what, we got classes that are available. If they want to go to the website and sign up for it, if they use the code Junkie, Junkie, it will give them 25% off a class. How's that sound?
That's awesome. That'd be great.
That's great.
Yeah. So
we appreciate that.
If you're listening, download the ebook and use that code to get your 20% off.
Yep.
25.
Excuse me.
25. Don't sell them short, Brandon.
No, we got to get them their discount. So,
and if they're Redskins fans, they can pay an extra 25.
Yeah. Great. Well, luckily, in our area in Northern Virginia, it seems like everybody's a Dallas Cowboys fan.
It does.
So
going to a Redskins game is kind of like going to the opposing team's home game.
Exactly.
At FedEx. It's just there's more opposing team fans there than there are Redskins fans. It's crazy.
I agree, but Redskins or Dallas Cowboy fans are the worst. Eagles fans are the worst.
They suck. They
win one and they think they're like, oh, we're the best in the world.
They were the first. Their stadium was the first one to have a jail in it, I believe. Yes. Because their fans were so rowdy and crazy.
Yeah. Now, I spoke in Philadelphia a few years ago. It was right around the beginning of the NFL season. And so it was a big conference. And so what I did, being a Cowboys fan, I went to the Dallas Cowboys store here and was going to buy some, T-shirts. Just plain white T-shirts with a star on it. And the guy, when he found out what I was going to do for it, he gave me like a dozen T-shirts. And so what it is, they're white T-shirts. I rolled them up. Wow. The star was inside. And so I started talking. I said, "Hey, Philadelphia, who's here for register for football?" And all these people excited. So I'm like throwing T-shirts. And the crowd, they roll up the Cowboys thing.
Did they throw them back at you? That's funny.
That is really funny.
Well, Scott, we appreciate you being on the show today. There's a lot of value that you provided and a lot of knowledge. I learned a lot too. So we definitely appreciate you being on the show and providing that discount code for our listeners.
Well, hey guys, I'm honored. As always, you guys are doing a great job. Keep cranking out the good stuff. And like we said again, everybody, if you love what Will and Brandon are doing, besides the intros to the show, go out and leave them a 5-star review on iTunes, everybody.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. We'll see everybody tomorrow.